So, little bit mangled here. A little bit mangled here where I've been thumping it. But I think I've managed to save most of it. Fits. Yeah, that fits. So I could use that. But apparently it's no good. Or it's this one going on. And I just need to, I think my plan is put this one on, solder it, try it. If the bike runs, then I'll have another go at winding a coil tighter and maybe 500 less turns, just so I can get it contained on the coil. But for now, I want to clean the varnish off the laminations, and I'm also still just wondering whether I'm going to change the red and the green, the white and the green wire. So, test one, 310-ish ohms, 3,200 winds, PVC tape over it because it's bulged, Mark 1 TPU bobbin. If this works, then I think I'm going to wind with 3,000. I've already increased the size of the tab there, and I've taken the earth tap off from the bottom rather than the side, so it comes out. It still measures, so I'm going to install it and see if I can measure a voltage. Oh god, I've been kicking and kicking and kicking. I connected a spark plug to the lead and got some sparks. Turn the fuel on, connected it back to the coils, turn the ignition on, kick, 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 a few pops, nothing. I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and get the electronic ignition. I don't know if this is going to work, but just to try and save some money to see, I brought some really powerful neodymium magnets, and hang on, south, north, south, north, south, and that'll be a north. So I'm just going to leave them on overnight, and then I'll just swap one over there, and we'll see if that strengthens the magnets. I think that's what you have to do. I believe you may need to tap it. The ions, the magnetic ions, have to realign. I don't know how much you tap it, but we'll see if that does any good. On the forum, there's many ways mentioned of measuring the magnetic strength of the rotor. Recently, the chairman used a spanner of 350 grams, and before magnetism it was an easy pull off, and after it was a lot harder. So I've got this couple of spanners, one at 300-ish and one at 400-ish, and after remagnetizing, the 400 one hangs on and hangs on very securely. So I figure I have remagnetized my rotor. But I'm afraid I had my microphone muted for this. I think part of the reason I didn't think the coil worked is because I thought AC and DC was measured the same. And when I was kicking it over, I was only getting about 5 volts. And then I spotted the AC setting on the meter. So I've now got it set to AC. I think this is with the Lambretta coil in, because I've given up on my coil. And brum, 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 if I kick it over, I'm getting a good 50 or 60 volts, which is what I need to start. So, as per Paul Compton's ignition transducer video 1, I think it is, I've rigged up a little test rig. I've got an indicator bulb, literally a bulb for an indicator, soldered up with some wire so I can plug that end into the transducer. The other end is a 12-volt feed from the battery. So this pretends to be the feed from the alternator. The link wire that takes the feed across to the other transducer isn't needed. The signal wire is taken from a 1.5 volt battery that goes through, and then there's an earth that I'll connect to the earth. And what you do is you power it from 12 volts, touch the 1.5 volt battery to the signal wire, and it should turn the bulb on, and the bulb should stay on until the 12 volts is removed. I'll see if I can set the tripod up for that, and then we'll do the same with the other one. I'm really sorry, my microphone wasn't working again. This is me connecting the 12 volt supply to the first transducer, which supplies the spark to the front cylinder. You can see the light comes on straight away. This is not supposed to happen. Every time I connect it to the 12 volt supply, the light comes on. I think this will have been because I got very enthusiastic and thought I could use my external power supply to supply something like 30 or 40 volts to it to try and get a spark out of it, and not realizing that you have to limit the current, and it will have killed this transducer. So what I need to do now is disconnect all the wires off the other one and test the transducer, the ignition module, for the rear cylinder. One moment, please. I think that'll be copyrighted. So now you can see when I connect the 12 volts, the light doesn't come on, whereas it did on the front one. And we can now use the 1.5 volt battery as a trigger, which is effectively like the cam sensor coming on, and then it illuminates the bulb. And when we can disconnect, the bulb goes out. And if we send the trigger signal through again, it illuminates the bulb. And this is because there's a thyristor in the circuit, which latches on, I assume. There is a circuit diagram for the transducers, which was on the Dutch website, which I did also think about having a go at, so I wasn't using the scooter modules, but I never got round to that. So I now know that I need to buy a new ignition module transducer, and then we'll try that and see if I can get a spark. The saga of the Morini stator carries on. I've bought some new green wire to replace the green wire that goes from the stator up to the transducers. I have got a cheap Chinese transducer that I just want to put on and test so I can see if it's going. And I know the ignition timing is probably different, but it's close enough that they will work. I've been playing around with the old coil, and I can measure 195 ohms. And I figure if I wire this onto, let's get this properly done, onto there, and an earth wire coming off there with a bit of slack so it's not so tight, I can put that back on the stator and see if I can get it working. No microphone. Yet again having a play with this coil. I think I've come to the uncomfortable conclusion that I'm going to have to spend some money. It's 16th of March today. My pension comes through at the end of the month, so I think next month I will have to go for the SWF one.
I was just looking at changing the green low tension coil that goes up to the transducers, while changing the wire for some new wire, and as I'm looking at it, I've chopped an end off already, but there's a couple of breaks where it came out the back of the stator plate, mounting plate, so I'm beginning to wonder whether I had some short circuiting there. Finally! It is running from the scooter coil. Well, that has taken a bloody age. I will have another go at rewinding a coil, because this is running on a scooter coil at the moment. It's got a new transducer because I did the other one up. I just need to check the charging circuit, because I don't know if the coils need rewinding for that. And at the moment, the copper plate hasn't got the laminations turned over to keep it in place. I'll leave it running for a while though, just to warm up and soak. So, why do I always start with so? I don't know. Anyway, side panels back on, side cover on the engine back on, seat back on, and fuel put in the petrol tank, ready for a test ride.
Well, that doesn't seem to have been one fault that I could say caused the ignition problem. I think it boils down to three things. A low tension coil that has an intermittent break in it, so it works then doesn't. Cracks in the insulation of the green wire that causes an intermittent short circuit. It may be that the rotor was losing magnetism, therefore not generating enough voltage. Sorry, the video camera failed. I had a test ride around the block as I did not want to go too far in case I had to push it home. It ran well below 6,000 RPM. Above that it began to misfire and got worse with more throttle applied. That will be the reason that people do not use the scooter coils. At least I know it is fine mechanically. As I've said, an SWF ignition system will be ordered. Thanks for watching.